trying to reconnect.
Is it? Are we on? Let's see.
Good
evening.
Good evening.
Hello, hello. We're just trying to make sure we're live here, and then we will
Commenting.
get started. So comment if you see it.
Yes.
I do not see it
I
still.
don't see it. There we are.
Are we there?
Yes.
Are we there
Good
yet?
evening, good evening. Welcome to the show. We have an exciting show for you tonight. Tonight we are starting our Genius Pattern series, and we're jumping right into fact versus opinion. You're going to want to hang on. We've got some great things and exercise for you to go home with to really keep you following along.
Yes, we're going to go ahead and go over what it is, how it might be affecting you, and we also have an actionable item. Hello, Russell!
What's going on, Russell?
We actually have an actionable item so that you guys can benefit from this little show. So,
Absolutely. So have a pen and paper handy if you need it. If this is your first time, my name is Carl Knock. And
I'm Nicole Knock.
Yes, with Around the Leaf. And this show is where we put the research and the science behind success.
Yes.
And so we're going to get right into it. Fact versus opinion. And this comes from the book that we've been rereading, which is the new Psycho-Cybernetics. We touched on it a little bit last week, pulled the topic off of it, but this week is really about one of the concepts. This concept, in fact, is what the author calls the genius pattern, and so we're going to go into pulling that out to be able to, so that you can affect your success. So really, we boil down and break down what the difference is between opinion or perception and fact.
Yes. Yes. So, well, where are we? Here. Okay. Cool. I had to look at our little notes because I didn't see the notes before. What it basically is, you know, there are opinions and then there are facts. And put it simply, everybody knows what opinion and facts are. When you think about, of course, politically what's going on right now and everything, what's political, you know, what's opinion, what's fact, what can be backed up, what cannot be backed up. But this is a little different way to think about it, because what we're looking at is what you perceive as a fact when it's really an opinion. And this is something to really sink into your brain, because what it is an action is a fact, but the definition or the perception that you give to that action or that situation is actually your opinion. And even though it may not necessarily be true, that's what you end up keeping with you and labeling yourself by that, or labeling that person or the situation by that opinion. So, for example, because that's kind of convoluted, I'll break it down. So, for example, when, let's see, what example can I use? I know.
I'm not sure.
I know. When you see your coworkers and they're talking, they're you know, speaking low, and they're kind of like giggling and looking at you, and you walk up to them and then they stop. The fact of that matter was that they were giggling and talking, and then you walked up and they stopped. Your opinion, or the perception that you're giving the situation, is that they were talking about you, or, you know, somehow you couldn't hear or shouldn't have heard what they were talking about, so then they stopped when you walked up, when it could have been something completely different. Hey, Angel, what's up?
What's going on, Angel?
So the same kind of things happen with failure, really, is when you fail at something, and the fact is you got something wrong.
Yep.
Your opinion that you put on it is that you are now a screw up, or you're a failure or something. Hey! So that's the kind of difference between fact and opinion, and it's really important to tell the difference, because one can really affect your confidence and your self-esteem and self-worth going forward. Because if you mess up on something and you feel like that now labels you as a mess up, then that opinion of the situation, not the fact, that's not a fact. The fact is you messed up once. That's not, that's not set in stone. That you're going to do it again and again and again. You should just stop trying. Because, we walk, we stumble, sometimes we fall. We stumble and sometimes we fall, but we still know how to walk.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make us any worse of a walker because we stumble and we fall sometimes. So it's really important to kind of separate those things in your mind, especially when it comes to your self-worth or the opinion of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've hit on this very broadly before, but how you view yourself, these I am statements and different things like that, that's really going to supercharge and this concept of what that perception is. Many things happen to us. We drive to work, we drive home to work, or we interact with a family, we have phone calls, we don't, we're on social media and all these different things, right? And there's different opinions and based on, our stimuli, different things, different, what our brain processes things, right? So that is why perception, we have to know the difference. The important part of why you need to know the difference is, especially when it comes to success, you need to know where the facts are and where the opinions are, because that's when you can make that move towards, these opportunities, and that is going to help you propel and will propel you towards your success.
Yes. Once you get it down to realize what's fact and what's opinion, you're able to label yourself a little more lovingly, really. Instead of, I'm a screw up, or I'm a horrible this or a horrible that, or I just shouldn't do that anymore because I guess I'm just not good at it. You say, well, I'm pretty good at this, and sometimes I mess up. That takes all of the pressure off of the on or off switch. It takes all of the pressure off of having to be great at it or failing at it and not doing it again. It's an honest evaluation of your strengths and weaknesses. And in the end, you may be better at some things than other people, and you may be worse at some things than the other people. But that does not make you better or worse than other people. And that's a very, very powerful and a very important distinction to make.
Who said?
Angel said, he said, I don't really know, use, or watch live videos, but I'm not going to lie, you guys just scared me when you said, hey, Angel. I'm in your house, Angel. I thought you guys could see me, so I dropped my phone. Angel, you're a trip.
We can't see you. We can't see you.
I'm supposed to focus and I'm crying here. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I love you guys. You're so funny.
Yes. That's awesome. That's awesome, Connor. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. Making me cry live.
So the thing with perception, in fact, take Thomas Edison, who is said to have tried over 10,000 different times to create the incandescent light bulb before it actually worked. He was convinced that it was a fact that he could be able to harness the power of electricity from these two filament to create light. He just didn't know how. So if he let his opinion affect him each and every time, it wouldn't have been a success. But the fact he knew is that it had to work because he has seen it in the sky, just how to harness these this power, in a light bulb. So that's why we're finally getting all those the the
Yeah,
laughs.
there's a delay.
There's definitely a delay.
Yeah.
But all the laughs, that's awesome. So if he had given up and based his opinion like, man, this one didn't work, or it burst, or this just isn't going to work, you know, all the many times he went home with a failure.
Yeah.
10,000 times. And it finally clicked. And that is why we're, you know, we can see it on...
Why you guys can see us right now.
Yes. One of the many things. Harnessing electricity. And so that is what...
Yes, delay.
delay.
Yes.
Yes, there you go. That's how long it takes. Russell, thank you.
Yeah.
So that's what we're saying. So we have these three kind of things that set our perception, main categories. One is kind of the perception of genius. Everyone, for some reason, feels like their baby is a genius.
Our babies are geniuses.
Our babies are geniuses. I don't know about y'all's.
I know what he's talking about.
But everyone, when they first receive that bundle of joy, right, at home, they're like, man, it's a genius. The other day, he picked up his head. The doctor says that he's in his 85th percentile in height.
Big baby.
He's got big feet. He has already said, Daddy. He can do long division already. No, we always have this, like, everyone seems to have a genius in their household, right?
Sure.
And then somehow something happens. Something happens from when, you know, because at some point in your parents' lives, you were that little ball of genius. So what happens, right? You know, it's a very unique thing that happens as we grow older. We get many different influences and many other people's perception, and then our perception of their perceptions, right?
Let me stop you right here.
Sure.
If you guys have anyone who would benefit from this information, feel free to share.
Yes.
Share and
Please
like,
share.
and then like the page. Go ahead.
Yes. And so, you know, this genius factor, but it really is. It's this perception of genius. And what it is that when you have a new child, you only have maybe a small amount of perception of the rest of the world on what it should be. You hear from your doctor, oh man, that's above average, right? And you're like, whoa, my kid is a genius, right? You get those kindergarten report cards, and you're like, yes, got all A's. Woo. Well, the colors, E's. They're all E's, right? So as the world starts becoming more complex, and you're now on different playing fields where there's more competition or there's more room for perception, that's when you start to question your own genius. And you start to kind of believe other people's perceptions of you, and then you kind of learn your own kind of feel, right?
Yeah. Well, it comes with socialization as well. It's a big part of it, is whenever you grow up, you tend to learn your strengths and weaknesses by interacting with your environment. So it's not only you interacting with the environment, but it's your environment's reaction to you. So as a child coming up in any kind of environment, that's what ends up happening. You learn your limitations. You learn that, you know, you didn't beat Billy at the recess running, so obviously you're not that fast of a runner. So little conceptions like that just build up, and they end up forming yourself, or your idea of self. And what this kind of does, the fact versus opinion, is when we're little, we don't get that there is a distinction between fact and opinion. And for those who just joined us, fact and versus opinion is not necessarily what it sounds like. It's basically that a lot of times the facts that we consume or that we perceive are actually opinion, because we put our perception on them, or we put a feeling to that action. One example that we gave was people, you know, whispering, talking, you know, and then you walk up to them and they stop. Well, the fact is that they were whispering and talking. The opinion you gave the situation that was a reflection then of yourself
Yeah.
was that maybe they were talking about you, maybe they don't like you. So when you're growing up, these things happen and you can't tell the difference between a fact and an opinion. That's why, you know, when you're older, you get to look at fun little books like Psycho-Cybernetics and realize that there is a difference. And there, not only is there a difference, that method of creating self, or that method of setting your limitations subconsciously, can be changed.
Yeah.
There are things you can do to actually hack your mind and change them. So that's the good news.
Yes. And there's a couple different perceptions that we have, which include regret and worry, that set our perceptions. So regret, so things that have happened, we regret that something's happened, and so that sets our perception, and that can be a very strong.
Well, it holds you back. It holds you back a lot. See, we're gonna do a whole show on those, because it's definitely a deeper than we can cover right now, especially if we're talking about fact versus opinion.
Right.
So look forward to that later on in the week.
Yes.
Regret is really, that's one of those things that are perceived and created a manifestation of your own as well. So is worry. They're all manifestations of your own perception of that situation, or what happened in that situation, and how you locked it away in your brain. Basically, how you remembered it, what you felt, and that kind of, those kind of negative, I don't know.
Thoughts?
Well,
Perceptions?
yeah, like thoughts, or like I would call them clogs, because like
Sure.
they just, you know, they're overwhelming, you know, to your thought process, especially when you're talking about, you know, the what is it called?
Genius pattern?
Genius pattern.
Yes.
Yes. I'm used to calling it Psycho-Cybernetics, but yes, the genius pattern. It definitely hinders that free flow of thoughts, and that free flow of new thoughts and interesting thoughts that maybe don't exist yet, but everything came from nothing. So whenever you're trying to get to a goal, and we'll go through that later on this week too. Mm-hmm. It's good stuff.
To a goal.
Yep. Whenever you're trying to create a goal, you might be thinking of it the wrong way. You may be thinking about your goals the wrong way, and we're going to get to that as well later on in the week with Genius Goals.
Yes. You know, I was just, thinking back to when we were talking about that genius perception, and I remember one time Bella, our daughter, came home and said, "Dad, I am the fastest runner in school." Now, I haven't seen her race people in her school, but she is in 2nd grade, and the school goes up to 8th grade. And I'm not saying whether she is or isn't the fastest runner in school, but my initial thought was, was like, man, if I don't tell her, her world's going to be crushed when she figures out maybe she's not the fastest runner. And I withheld that because exactly what we're saying here, those stimuli and those perceptions, and when you hear somebody say, well, you're not exactly the fastest, you're not the best, their intentions might be good of saying, well, like if you end up not being the best, well, then you're not disappointed, right? Mm-hmm. But really that kind of does a disservice, because wouldn't it be better just to keep running, you have no concept whether you are or aren't, you don't know that you are? Let the disappointment come, because much like the movie Inside Out, those disappointments are room, or are areas to turn that memory around and turn those things into positives.
Yeah.
You know, and it gives you as a parent, and it gave me as a parent, an opportunity to be able to provide better guidance when those disappointments come.
Right.
Because whether she's the fastest or not the fastest, and I tell her she is or isn't, she's still going to meet disappointment somewhere along her life. So can't protect them. So it's more of, you know, instead of trying to do prevention,
Yeah.
you know, it's almost just to be positive, right?
Yeah. I mean, well, that's something I think a lot of parents struggle with. I know we've struggled with it because it's like, do you want them to go out in the world, you know, soft and mushy so anyone else can, you know, feed them disappointment, or, you know, or do you want them to have a realistic look on it so that they do better by their strengths and they understand their limitations. Okay, so this, if I knew then what I know now, but it's okay. But and really, what the answer to that is you want to instill in them the confidence. You want to tell them they can do absolutely anything, even if they're not doing it completely all the, you know, even if they're not the fastest runner in school.
Right.
You know, your job is not to say, well, you know, you're probably not the fastest runner, because, and this is important, because those preconceptions, those memories that are cemented in your brain as a child, are what the rest of your life goes off of.
Yeah.
So there are some like very strong memories, and I'm sure a lot of people can, you know, just think about them, really recall a moment where someone just turned your reality on its head, where you thought you were really good at something, and then someone says one thing and you start questioning that. Well, we're also going to get into that later on in the week too. I need to write this down in the notes. But yes, we are definitely going to be talking about that, because that is so important, because that can change.
Right.
Now, we don't talk about things that can't change, but the great thing about that is that all of this stuff is changeable. All of the scars, all of the different mishaps or issues. You're jamming out.
Am I?
We have a neighbor who has a band, so they're giving us background music.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all those things can be mended. They can be reprogrammed. You can go past what whoever said was the truth about you. So that's why we're here, and that's why we're sharing this really cool stuff that we found.
Yep. Yeah, and what ended up happening later is she, maybe a year later, this year, so last year she was the fastest runner. This year she was questioning and came to me and asked, and in between that time I had invited her to run with me, because I do run, and so we ran around the block. And so she's more of the 100-yard dash rather than the 4-mile one. We didn't run it for a 4-mile. We just ran around the block. So more of a short distance than the long distance. So she got a lesson in the difference of longevity, you know, of reserving kind of your energy for those longer runs than that short burst. But she asked me, you know, she's like, man, I cannot, you know, these people keep running, you know, they're faster than me now. And I, hey, Ileana. And so
Oh, Lydia's here too. Hello, Lydia.
Hello. So I told her, I said, hey, you know what you need to do is when you're running, don't focus on those running next to you, you know. Focus on the end where you're running to. And just keep looking there and keep running as fast as you can. If you're the first one that goes through the finish line or the last one, it doesn't matter. You keep running. And then if you want to, sit down and watch those who are faster than you. Watch how they run. And see see what happened. You know, how do they run? How far do they stretch their legs out really far? Do they just run really fast? Do they swing their arms? Are their hands open? Like,
The technique more so.
yeah, their technique,
Sure.
and see if you can mimic that, and then make it your own.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense because that brings another point that we're going to be talking about later on in the week, is that just changing those thoughts or just changing the fact versus opinion, just realizing what is fact and what is opinion won't change those things in life, but it will recategorize them so that you're able to look at them objectively. And if you do have weaknesses in certain things or strengths in certain things, you'll be able to help those in a non-emotional way.
Yeah.
And stay grounded, not get, emotionally hijacked. I know we say that a lot on this show because it is definitely
It's what holds people back.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing that's yes, Russell. I once used to be the same way. I would get the 10 yards and tuck her out.
Yeah,
but there are
get down the
techniques,
block
right?
and I'm out.
I
don't run.
It's just about techniques and learning different things and building up and slowly,
Sure.
And that's what I was doing with Bella. Is I was teaching her because if I just focus on the negative, right? If you just focus on the negative, that would be the same if. Think about something that you're passionate about. If you told somebody, yeah, I really want to have a Tesla. All right, now that's just me. But
Me too.
pick your own passion. Think of it. If you said that and somebody said, well, those are not really good. Not many people have bought them. They're really expensive. Do you really want that? Is it really good? All these different things, right? Focusing on the negatives. Now that's an adult version, but if you take it to a kid, those little things are the same thing. When you focus on the negative instead of on the passion, then you're going to be focusing on that perception. You are focusing on that because it has emotion in it, And so if we're just focusing on the facts have no emotion attached to them whatsoever.
Nope.
The fact is, I put my phone in a tripod and hooked up a mic to it. That's the fact.
Secrets.
That's the fact. The perception is that I'm talking to my phone and it's echoing into your phones, into your lives, and impacting you. Right? That's my perception. I don't know what actually is happening on the other end of this. I don't know what's happening in your world. But I know that from the fact here of what I see, that, that's that balance, right? This is the difference between the perception and fact. This is the difference between a fact and an opinion. An opinion definitely has emotion tied to it and usually has some external stimuli that feeds it. Like a yeast or something. I don't know. Strike that
Ladies and
yeast.
gentlemen, he went there.
Like something like a fungi, right? I don't know. Anyway.
It's a fun guy.
It's a fun guy.
Ah.
It's a mushroom. It's a fun guy.
Ah.
All right, dad joke. Dad joke here.
His perception is that dad jokes are funny.
They are, aren't they?
Yeah, but
yeah, so go ahead. Sorry, I lost the train of thought on the dad jokes.
all right, so we can go ahead and go to the takeaway. He's laughing.
A lot of laughter.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We can go to the takeaway. Let's see, how are we on time?
We are.
Okay.
We have time. Hey, Lena.
Hey, Lena. So, do you guys have any questions about fact versus opinion? just to catch you up, fact versus opinion is not necessarily like fact, as in like backed by research, an opinion the way you feel about it, but more so, fact is what tangibly happened, and opinion is the kind of feelings or the definition you gave to the situation.
Indeed, indeed. Another thing, it's good that you said that. The difference between a fact and, a lot of times we think of when there's research done that those are the facts. Well, the problem is that
Bias.
it's very difficult to do research without bias.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. Most research is done with a question or an idea, but those two things are usually seated in an opinion.
And a hypothesis, which needs an opinion to form a hypothesis.
Right. So there is bias in that research, and that could be a whole different topic on funding for research and what that research may say, right? So, and how, because like I'm starting to learn that, or have learned that studying on the graduate level, and I can't wait to see what happens when I get to the doctorate level, where it's basically just throw everything out the window.
Yeah.
Don't even believe anything you hear.
Every level they do that. Every level. It's like,
Every level.
You learned that in high school? Throw it out the window.
Throw it out the
This is
window.
college. It's
You learn
different.
that bachelor level or undergrad,
Yep.
doesn't matter. Doesn't count any longer.
That was what your AA said?
Oh, it's research?
Yeah.
So even though there may be research done or, funded research, it's still based on a bias, which is an opinion. So, not everything, so not just
Clear
because
cut,
it has research tied to it doesn't necessarily mean it is a fact.
Yes. But that is way off.
That's
the-
deep. That's deep.
It-
Too
it
deep.
went-
Too deep.
We forked in the road and it went that way. But yes, so we have an exercise you can do.
Yes.
And this is to really kind of do a self-assessment and find out where these facts and opinions come to play in your life. And I'll let you go ahead and...
All right. All it requires
He's excited.
is something to write something down in. That's it. A pen, paper,
Quiet.
and a quiet place to write with. So you're going to do a heart-to-heart with yourself. And you're going to search yourself and figure out what...
Think about something that's emotionally jarring that happened to you. Whether it's like we said, whenever with the coworkers talking and then coming over and the coworkers stop talking. Think about something that's emotionally jarring to you, and try to separate the fact from the opinion of a situation.
Yeah.
Now, a great example of where fact and opinion can run awry is texting or messaging.
Yes.
Because the opinion could say that, or the fact could say that they gave a thumbs up, but what's our opinion of a thumbs up?
Right.
It's never a good thing, especially if it's a serious situation.
Sure, yeah. I remember when Facebook only had the thumbs up for a like, and you would try to give a thumbs up for support for someone.
Yeah, going through a bad time.
Someone's going through a bad time, and you're like, thumbs up, or you weren't sure what to say. I mean, now since the beginning of last year, Facebook has expanded those to the
emojicons or
the impressions that or the interactions that you can do. But at that moment, that's it. And you're going to write down something that you've given up trying to resolve with someone because you've accepted it as fact. That is always going to happen, and there's nothing I can do about it. You're going to write those down. Now, you're not going to share those with us. You're not going to share those with anybody. That's just with you, yourself, and you. And and that is...
And this is what you're talking about. You're talking about like the limitations that have been set for you by a situation. is what
Right,
you're saying?
right.
That you just resolved to kind of accept as a truth.
That it's been a truth, it's been a fact. Somebody always treats me this way, and there's nothing I can do about it. Write it down.
I'm just a bad singer, I guess. I just won't sing, you know. Just whatever those things that you've kind of resigned to. Maybe you're in sales. Well, I guess I'm just a $5,000 a month kind of salesperson. I'm not going to get any more than that. Or if you're in a job that you want to move up and you tried and it just hasn't happened. Well, I guess that I'm not meant for managerial purposes, or it can really affect all parts of your life. And it can also affect several parts of your life, even if it's just one thing. So I'm sure you have something. I mean, I know I have. I'm sure I have some. I'm probably going to do this. I am going to do this, actually, after the show.
Yeah, we will all do this.
It's always
we
good
will
to
do
do
this
that
with
now.
you, and we will compare notes tomorrow. No, we will not compare notes tomorrow, because this is really a personal thing between you and yourself. But this stuff will help you. This is only going to help you. So if you don't do it, it's not going to help you, right?
Yes.
So take a pen and a paper after the show, when you have a moment, and write down those things that you have taken for fact that you cannot control any longer. Of stuff that things happen.
Yes. To that point, you have hung out with us for almost 40 minutes now. You can give yourself 10 minutes to work on yourself and work on your limitations and actually attain the goals that you're setting forward toward.
Yes.
You
Yes.
can succeed, but you have to give yourself time and you have to do these actionable items. I would love to hear success stories. I love
Yes.
it.
Yes. So tomorrow we will be continuing this, and we'll go into the perception of worry
Yes. Worry and regret.
and regret. So we will talk about those two, and you will not want to miss that. We have a very interesting perspective on both of those. And so, also, Friday, exciting. If you caught the show last Friday, it was very great. We've had 2 great Friday entrepreneurial episodes, and it is awesome.
Yes.
They have been awesome, and we are going to continue this. This Friday, we have a 3-time author. He's about to drop his 3rd book, actually, in March. But we will be talking with him on how he was able to take a single blog or blogging and turn it into 3 books. The effort, how he does it, as well as how he's been able to accomplish all these goals. He's working with a publisher and all these different things. So we're going to save that for you will meet him on Friday right here. And we are still looking for a name. Thank you, Russell. You've got two recommendations in the hopper. Love it. And we're looking forward to this. We'll build it up, and then again we will put it out to everyone
As a poll.
soon as a poll, and see what the show will be.
exciting.
So it's
Yes.
exciting. So with that, again,
Thank you for joining us.
Yes, and you're awesome. Keep it up, and do those actionable. Do
Yes.
that exercise, and we'll see you here tomorrow night, 9 p.m.
Good night.
Good night.